You are infinitely loved by an infinite God. Everyone you love is infinitely loved by an infinite God. Everyone you hate is infinitely loved by an infinite God. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Love Your Unlovable podcast. I'm your host, the wildly unlovable, yet infinitely loved Eileen Chevalier.
Spring is here again. Wisteria's choking them trees. I swear that gorgeous bloom is you, and them old trees is me. I'm sitting here alone, all dressed up in my disguise, trying hard to pretend I believe in my own lies. Out here the water's deep, nice way to spend an afternoon, half awake, half asleep, a good ways away from you. 'Cause you're back home and you're in pain, setting fire to my old flames, fear that they may rise again. You're saving tears and praying rains on every one of our parades. Our ghosts and gas, the pageantry, some of them ripping out at you, some are digging into you. But that old gloom, it don't last long. A blaze of glory and it fades, leaving a mess of rhymes behind. Every time it goes away, we must find that bridge to cross to get us to that sweet refrain. This endless verse to endless verse, it's just pain to endless pain. Now the cold is setting in as the dark is rolling down, and just like the fool I am, I won't ask which way to town. But there's a light up on a pole, going strong and true. It's your love singing out to me. It'll guide me back to you.
All right. Welcome back, guys.
Episode 3.
That I think we're calling the Fallout. So apparently I that song is called Wisteria, And apparently, according to my notes on Bandcamp, I wrote that April 18th, May 26th, and June 17th of 2005. And that's not uncommon for a song to kind of be written in that spread out. Like, I wrote most of that certainly in one sitting, and then you go back and tweak it. So, all right, big picture timeline. We met in June. That concert that I proposed was July 30th.
Well, and we saw each other again like a month after, so like
a
July
little after
9th.
4th of July, yeah.
Decided to get married.
You headed back down. I came a few days later, came back up for the concert, went back down. I had just exploded all of your insecurities over those 2 days.
There was the night of the proposal. There was like that whole... Well, there was the night before
the night
we rehearsed,
before,
and then there was the actual night of the concert.
I honestly don't even remember like anything about like where we slept that night, when we got back, etc., etc. But I assume we
definitely went back to your parents.
Yeah,
because we were there the next morning.
Yeah, because
I remember coming to see you. You were in the small bedroom.
Yeah,
and I went in there. And that's when you were reading Sarah's email.
Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and get into it, because this is a big... So Eileen had met Sarah. Sarah was in my group
the night before.
Friends at college, and all of our friends kind of heard us arguing after the show, because it wasn't super quiet.
She's the one that I had like spent the most time talking to.
Right, at the bar
before
I was getting everything set up and everything. Yeah. So Sarah had drafted this long email explaining that I need to be very careful, and she didn't think Eileen was right for me, and and
she had stayed up all night thinking
worse than
about
that,
you.
I had already responded, and you read the response, which became oft quoted mantra in those early days.
And I think you were so proud of yourself. You were like, "Look, I already wrote back to her."
Yeah. But the part that stuck out to you was that I started it, my dear, dear Sarah.
My dear, dear Sarah.
There's probably still a cold shiver in your heart. So
not really.
I went on to tell Sarah that she doesn't know what she's talking about, that this woman is amazing. I absolutely know I'm supposed to marry her. And, but so Eileen... Well, I don't need to speak for you. You speak.
Well, okay. So first of all, this person does not know me.
Right.
Like, you didn't know me, but like
I didn't know you.
She really didn't know me.
Right.
And the fact that she couldn't sleep, she's married. But she couldn't go to sleep because she was thinking about you all night, apparently. Which I was just like, red flags. Which is weird. Like, there's no reason. I'm not gonna stay up thinking about any guy all night if I'm already married to you. Like, that, no one is worth my time to stay up all night thinking about them, which just seemed really weird. And here's the thing. You wrote a very long, very, very caring
email.
My dear, dear Sarah, when I told you how hurt I was, you weren't like, "Oh, my dear, dear fiance." Eileen. You were like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like,
I totally do.
All I got from you was anger. Why? And all she got from you was, "Oh my goodness, my dear, dear Sarah, just let me help you. Let me help you understand.
Let me help you understand.
I care so much about you that I just really want you to understand. I'm going to take a long time drafting this email so that you can be at peace." And like, I didn't get that.
Right. You weren't feeling at peace. You were feeling
No, but you didn't even
you
didn't give me a long email. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was immediately like crazy jealous.
Right.
Because you are caring so much about this other person,
right?
But you're just mad at me,
right?
For
needing me to explain.
Yeah. And it's the same thing. She needs you to explain something. I need you to explain something. I'm actually gonna marry you. She's actually married to someone else. I don't know. Like, it just seemed really unfair to me.
Yeah. And it continued to be.
But you didn't say, "Oh yeah, you're right."
Right.
I should care enough about you.
I didn't see that I was totally giving something that you wanted to another woman.
Yeah.
And I was withholding that from you and then asking you, why can't you just get over it and be okay? And that became a huge...
Because you continued to defend yourself.
Right.
For, I don't know, years, I think. I'm pretty sure. And I think part of that was that it was hard for you to admit that it was so easy for you to care about someone else.
Right.
And so hard for you to care about.
And I don't know that I've even gotten to the... Maybe you've become...
you're going to do it now?
No, I don't even know that I've gotten to the bottom of why it was so effortless for me to be just very tender and caring with my friends.
Right, and not with me.
But I was so hard. And if I can hazard a guess, and I think I've explained this to you before, so I think I did have some insight. But like, I look at you and kind of did almost immediately as an extension of myself. And I don't coddle myself. Like, I'm really, like, if I've done something wrong, I'm particularly hard on myself. I do get over it quickly, but I'm kind of harsh with myself. And I think that for whatever reason, we never, like, you are my absolute best friend. You've been my best friend for 2 decades. But, like, for some reason in the early going, you were in a different category for me mentally than my friends.
I know. I remember saying to you,
you were like,
I was one of your friends.
I wish I was just one of your friends because you
would love me
actually
more.
really nice to them. And I got mad because I'm like, how can you say that? I married you.
I know, you were so mad when I said that.
I was like, I married you. I am so in love with you. And you're just like, well, I wish you would just treat me like your friends.
Just be nice.
Just be nice to me. Be kind. Like, put yourself in my shoes. And, you know, like, extend to me what you're extending to them. Like, why can't you give me that? So that was one argument.
Just recurring.
That began
it was like,
there.
I think it was part of every argument.
Yeah, it was. So that takes us to, we're now in early August, and then we kind of jumped into wedding planning, right? So the complication there with the wedding, we wanted to get married really quickly, and we were targeting October. We knew, even though we'd had this kind of blow up outside after the concert, we knew we were getting married. And so we also knew that we couldn't be together in the farmhouse until we were married.
Both of our parents were very conservative
we were just
about
like,
that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, so we were just like, let's
You're
go.
like, sure, that's fine.
Let's move this
we'll
along.
Just get married.
So interestingly enough, my sister was married in April of 2004 after like a full year of engagement, or like the normal kind of thing. And I met Eileen after that wedding and got married to Eileen in mid-September. So basically August and the first 2 weeks of September were us just scrambling to plan this wedding.
Yeah.
And my mom had already been to a venue that she liked for my sister when she was researching for my sister, but it was too small. And so we were going to have a smaller wedding. It was kind of last minute. Yeah. So she was like, well, why don't we go?
You had such a large family. And so it's just easier for us to have it near your family. Because there were so many of them. Any of my family, my family that came was just going to have to fly anyway. So. Right.
So it didn't matter if they flew to North Carolina or to DC. It was easier just to, So we go and visit this venue. Anyway, quick funny story. We see the place. I was totally against it. It's a place called the Riversdale Mansion, and I was just like, I'm not getting married in a mansion.
Yeah, but your mom was so excited. My mom was like, let's just go look at it. And I was like, just go, babe. It doesn't matter. It's not going to take us that long to look at it.
Yeah, and it was actually a historical mansion, not a current mansion. It was very old, from like the 1700s. Yeah, it's what's and it's currently set
Maryland campus was built on.
Yes, all of the land that was owned by Lord whatever Calvert is now like tons and tons of acreage. Anyway, whatever. I don't want to get into the history, but basically it was a historical mansion that some of the rooms were decorated with like period furniture, but a lot of the rooms were just wide open and like they were renovating or restoring.
And doing research and like there were like layers of history on the walls. And
so it was really actually cool. And I was like, great. So we go to talk to the people at the desk and we're like, yeah, so this place is cool. Like, what about having a wedding in September? And they were like, of this year? We were like, yeah. And they were like,
They were like, usually it gets booked a year out.
Yeah, they were like,
and we were like, yeah, it's not gonna work.
There was a cancellation.
There was.
And so we got married on September 18th.
Who books 6 weeks out?
Exactly.
They were never gonna fill that cancellation.
They were thrilled to fill the spot. We now had a date. It was go, go, go. You know, and I really do remember that time period.
Yeah.
As being
it was fun.
Really fraught. Yeah, we were planning. We
did the invitations. We screen printed all the invitations together.
You were working on your dress.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
No, thankfully, Anyway.
Yeah, I had this brilliant idea that I would like design and make a wedding dress in 6 weeks, along with planning everything else. So a few weeks out, I'm like, yeah, that's not really gonna make it. But at the, what do they call it? Bridal shower?
Yeah, at your bridal shower.
So my sister hosted a bridal shower for me at her house, and of course, lots of people came, and then they were like, what tell us about your dress. And I'm like, well, I don't really have one. And they're like, the wedding's in like a couple weeks. You should
You might want to figure that out.
But then 2 people offered to let me borrow dresses, and so I had an amazing dress. Yeah. It was perfect.
Something borrowed, right? It's like in the thing.
Yeah.
So, you didn't wear blue shoes, though. You wore red shoes.
Yeah.
Red platform shoes.
I did.
So, I remember that time fondly. I mean, I was working a day job. You were doing most of the planning, and it was a scramble, a mad dash. Some kind people flew in for it. It was really fun. It was really beautiful. It was very minimalistic. We're kind of party animals, or we were at the time. We're kind of old and lame now, but we're like 9 o'clock, really time for bed.
Amazing parties.
We did throw some really big parties back then, but it was a very chill wedding. There were a lot of restrictions in the mansion that you couldn't do. You couldn't have red wine. You couldn't have liquor of any kind. We were able to have like a champagne toast. We did a champagne toast, yeah. But anyway, the capacity was very small. I think it was 150 max capped. No. And it was.
I thought it was 75.
Was it 75?
I think it was tiny. It was like basically just like your family
friends
and like
family. Yeah.
We each had like 15 friends.
Yeah. So we did that. I didn't sing anything at the wedding. I didn't want to perform at my own wedding, and we got some guys to play some beautiful pieces of music on. Anyway, it
was nice. It was perfect.
Everyone that's watching this that's scrambled to help us throw this wedding together. Thank you so much. And Julie Luce, who's not with us anymore. I know you're looking down. We love you so much. And she did all the flowers, and just that was our wedding present from her, and it was just like amazing, stunning. We probably would have been like $10,000 worth of flowers or something.
So good.
I don't know what wedding flowers cost, but it was unbelievable. And anyway, we did it. We pulled it off. We left that night. Right after we left, someone set off the fire alarm. We were gone, but there was a big to-do. The fire truck showed up.
Excitement.
And apparently they had never been inside.
The firefighters.
So even though they
didn't even know it existed there.
Well, they knew it existed, but they were just like, what the heck? We've never been in this place.
Yeah, so they just like took a tour.
Somebody took the firefighters on a tour of the place while like the caterers are packing up, and my parents and your parents are putting, whatever. And we got like tons of food, leftovers, cake.
That's what we ate for like a week.
Yeah, for sure. But we were halfway down the road back to North Carolina. We stayed at a ridiculous hotel. But we told the sweet Indian couple that owned it at the front desk that we had just gotten married, and that I think they gave us like the best room in the Econo Lodge. Yeah. We were broke. We were so broke. But it was great.
It was amazing.
And
it was fantastic. I mean, it was perfect.
It really was.
Honestly, the proposal was kind of a nightmare for me. I mean, it is what it is, and there's like beautiful things about it, but it was so hard for me, right?
Yeah.
But then the wedding was just perfect. Yeah. Everything about it was perfect.
Yeah, it was great. Well, actually, interestingly enough, we were going to have the ceremony outside and the reception inside.
And it rained.
But it poured rain the day before, and it wasn't raining on the day of, but it was soggy. So like anyone in heels would have been like sinking into the ground. So we scrambled, moved it inside, and only the grandparents sat down. Like pretty much everybody stood. It was cool. We were like all packed in. And it felt like there were no microphones or anything. The music.
Yeah, it was just one tiny room.
Yeah.
So it was a big room, but it felt tiny with everyone standing.
all around
standing
us.
room
It
only.
felt
I mean,
very
there were
communal.
no chairs. So yeah,
It felt very.
it felt very close and intimate. It was amazing.
It was amazing. Someday we'll have a huge blowout party, maybe for our 25th wedding anniversary, because we never have had that big party.
Yeah.
But someday maybe we will. But so the wedding was great. But I had created this tornado of insecurities that.
Right. I didn't immediately become like completely secure in your love overnight.
Right. I mean, again, when we got married, we don't known each other for 3 months.
Well, and I think you, of course, wanted to start playing your songs.
I did want to start playing my songs.
And then for me,
well, I wanted to be playing my old songs.
oh yeah, yeah.
So
those were the songs that's what you had.
We're not playing any of those old songs for you on this podcast, but they're up there on Bandcamp. But like, that was my dream. Like I was going to become
squash those dreams.
Crushed it. No, like I was like I got a day job. I was screen printing t-shirts and designing t-shirts, but that was just a day job. Like I was still focused 100% on becoming a recording artist. Like that was what was happening. And so yeah, I wanted to play shows. I was networking. I was meeting people.
You met some great musicians.
Yeah, some people that ended up playing on the Mike and Eileen album. Very thankful. And so
we were still fighting. And I think a lot of it had to do with my super insecurity and then your inability to care.
To take good care. Yeah.
You're just like, no, I don't want you, like, just stop being insecure.
Right.
Like you were angry that I was insecure and I was just insecure. And so.
Well, and I was making it worse. So like, I want to admit something. I have this thing and I feel like it was a dynamic in my family growing up, mostly my brothers and I, but like we could sense weakness in people and we kind of shunned weakness. Like we really did not like people that were needy. We didn't like people that were clingy. I was in bands all in high school. My brother was in bands. All my brothers played music, and like we at least thought we were the cool kids, right? And so
you're the cool kid, babe.
And like, I think in a lot of ways I was a little bit of a jerk. I mean, I could be really
all
nice.
The cool kids are jerks.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially the ones that think they're cool. But what I mean is like, I think that I really was just genuinely shunned people that were socially needy. Mm-hmm. I didn't like it. Yeah. And so marrying you, because you didn't come across that way at all on the phone.
No.
It really was a side.
Usually I wasn't. Like a lot of people were like, would be attracted to me because I
radiated
so much confidence.
Yeah.
But not about a relationship. Mm-hmm. Like in certain ways it's like really easy for me to be confident, and then other ways like, and I'm sure it had to do with my personal experiences and relationships and just my relationship with myself in an intimate way.
Right.
And so that level of insecurity, you just did not know how to deal with it.
I really didn't. I did not. And that, what Eileen just started to talk about, is actually the subject of a whole another part of this podcast, which stems from the other book. So she's working on a Mike and Eileen book. She's also working on a memoir called How to Love Your Unlovable Self. So Eileen was at the was where she was on a journey of some intense self-loathing that I could not fathom. Like I could not understand it.
And I didn't even understand what it was.
Yeah. Like I had no concept, because I thought she was amazing. I was like, you're gorgeous, you're smart, you're super talented, you make amazing artwork. Like I was like, what could you possibly loathe? But she had this deep well of self-loathing and insecurity that I couldn't fathom. I really didn't know. Yeah. I didn't even know how to begin to process it. So my way of handling it was either yelling and arguing or just shutting down, which was basically the worst thing I could do, because it exacerbated your fear that I was leaving.
Right. Well, I think like for me, I was like, well, I need you to tell me that you actually love me. Like Like, I'm insecure, so what I need for you to do is be like, no, these are all of the reasons that I love you.
Right.
And instead of that, you were like, what is wrong with you? Which
Right.
just made me feel like there was no reason for you to love me,
Right.
you know, even more.
Right.
But I had never dealt with my own issues.
Right.
And because I had never dealt with it, I had no idea. I had no framework with which to deal with any of my insecurities. And you had no framework
No.
with which to deal with any of my insecurities. So it was horrible.
There we were. Like, my gut reaction was to just say, that is not cool. Please don't do that.
Yeah, just stop.
Don't be that way.
Yeah.
Which is helpful to know.
So easy.
Don't be that way. And I just don't get it. Like, you're awesome. Like, just believe that you're awesome. Like, don't need me to affirm you and don't blah blah blah.
Well, and
anyway,
I think
very unhelpful.
but also it's not fair. Like, it's not fair. It wasn't fair for me to demand that from you because it really, like, it's not your job. Like, you can absolutely love me and help me.
Yeah.
But ultimately, no matter how much you love me, it's not going to help me love me. You know? Like, there was only so much you could ever do. And it would only be like a surface level of help. It would never really heal the actual problem. So I think that God knew that. And I think God was like, oh, well, you know, if you get someone who's just very kind and is trying to help, then I would never have had to deal with it. Right? Like, if someone... I never had to deal with it in any of my other relationships. I was with people who thought I was amazing and didn't say otherwise, or...
didn't make you feel
I just wasn't with them anymore.
Right. Well, and that gets to the point where what we said earlier was, if we had continued to date, we wouldn't have gotten married.
Absolutely not.
Because I inevitably would have failed.
Pacify me.
Exactly. I inevitably would have failed at making you feel a certain way.
Correct.
And you would have been like, he's not the guy. And you would have moved on.
Well, I would have been like, I can't deal with that.
Right.
I need someone to, like, affirm me.
I want to jump ahead like a decade just for a quick plug. But Eileen came downstairs one night.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, I'm thinking about learning how to love myself. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I love you. Like I love you so much. You want to take it away?
Oh, and I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah. You were like, no.
You love you.
Yes, that's the thing.
And I now see that this is possible.
Yeah.
You know?
Just to in case you didn't get that, I was like, she comes down and is like, I'm thinking about actually loving myself. This is like 10 years ago. So 10 years into our marriage. And I was like, awesome. Like, yes, because I love you so much. You're getting it. And she's like, no, because you love yourself. Like, I've been watching you love yourself for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I need to do that. Like, I need that in my life.
I did. And I saw it because of our kids. Like, I saw the damage that I was inflicting on our daughters, especially. I mean, also Hank, but, like, definitely the girls, because I didn't love myself. And I could see it happen. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I couldn't not be who I was, and I couldn't stop this like destruction of my daughters. And I was just like, I think that the solution is to love myself. And so I was like, that's what I want to do. Because you do that.
You were like, as flawed and as messed up as you are, somehow you love yourself.
So clearly,
like,
this is possible.
It's possible. It doesn't make any sense, but I think it's better than what I'm doing.
But it was another, like, 5 years before I even began to understand how to do it.
Yeah.
Because who can teach you how to love yourself? Like, no one I know. You know, like, who can teach you how to forgive anyone? I went to this whole, we'll talk about this later, but, like, I went to this whole, like, year-long thing at church and we met every week and it was all about forgiveness. And like, no, none of it helped. Like, I mean, I really tried, right? But I think those core issues of self-loathing, and so like last night we watched Lie to Me with our kids.
Lie to Me is a TV show that was on Fox back in like 2016, 2013.
No, it was
9? 2009, 10, 11, something like that. Anyway, it was a TV show on Fox about this guy who studies micro expressions, and it's a great TV show. It's fun. It's now it's now streaming, so we started watching it with our kids.
So good. And so here's what happened. I remember watching the opening credits. They like zoom in on people's faces and they show like all these micro expressions and they like have little like lines out.
Yeah,
they like tell you what it
means.
This
is like intense pain.
And I was like, oh, that's what I do when I think about myself. And what was it? Contempt?
Or self-loathing.
Or I think it was the contempt. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow. Contempt is what I feel for myself. That's the one that I do when I think about myself.
Wow. I didn't realize it was Lie to Me that helped you connect that.
Yeah, because I was like, so one night I was laying in bed and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing that thing when I could feel my face doing it. And I was like, that's the thing that's in the show. And I'm thinking, so I went and watched the opening credits so that I could see what it was.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh,
I hate myself. Which I know you sitting there watching this cannot, like me, just couldn't fathom that this level of self-loathing existed in such a beautiful and wonderful, encouraging, talented package, right? Like it's just hard to fathom that someone that is smart and articulate and gorgeous and talented and, you know, that underneath the surface is this well of pain and insecurity and self-loathing. Like I had no idea that existed. I had no inkling of that before we got married.
Yeah.
I had no inkling of that. It evolved slowly.
Well, I think I was so demanding about you loving me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
Right.
And I needed one of us to love me.
Right.
You know, like I think that's part of why it was so horrible for me when you wouldn't give me the love that I thought I deserved or the love that I felt that I needed.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have it for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that I didn't have it for me. Like, that's the thing. Like, I didn't even understand that I hated myself. Like, it took me, you know,
years to get there.
So many years to even understand that I hated myself. Like, I didn't understand that I hated myself. And then I was like, oh, wow, I hate myself. And then I was like, oh, some people love themselves.
That took many more years.
And then, like, maybe let's try that.
Right.
But I didn't know how. And anyway, that's why, like, for me, how to love your unlovable self, like, I just wish someone could have told me.
Yeah.
Like, could have helped me.
Well, now you can tell other people.
I know, exactly. That's what I'm trying to do.
So, the first... So Wisteria is a song about me running away and just needing to get out of the house. And I just want to
understandably.
I want to unpack a little bit. So Eileen is so passionate, and I would do such stupid things and say such stupid things that like I said, my knee-jerk reaction was just to basically expect her to get her shit together, for lack of a better term, and stop this, which she had no control of doing that. But like in our worst, we'd have arguments that would just go around in circles for days, like
years.
Well, they lasted for years, but I mean like a single argument that would last for days.
Yes.
And we would try to take a breath, maybe have sex, and then like get right back into the argument.
Well, we made it with an agreement.
Well, that came later.
You're right.
That came later.
Yeah.
Eventually, we came up with, I don't know where it came from. Do you remember where the idea came from?
Oh, because we just couldn't take it anymore.
Eventually, we made a fight night. We decided on a night.
It was all day Monday, actually.
Oh, fight day. We would have a fight day. So but that helped so much because we would just be like, we could just table our fights and wait and have them on Monday. And Monday was just going to be a horrible day.
It was horrible.
It was horrible. For some context, I worked 4 10-hour days. So I worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I always had 3-day weekends at that
we're
time.
like, we're gonna
which
you,
was
you
great.
have to go to work tomorrow for 10 hours. What? Let's spend all day fighting.
Yeah. So
But it was better than fighting every day.
yeah. So that was very helpful. But that came later. That came like
In the spring.
of 25. So right now
2005.
2005.
We're not even in 20. That came next year.
So when we would get in these horrible fights, my reaction was just like, I need a minute. Like I just want to get some space. But that was the worst. I didn't know this, but that was the worst thing I could do for Eileen. Well, let me not make myself look so good. What I did was I would storm off. And that was the worst thing I could do for Eileen because she read that as he's leaving. Yeah, abandonment. This is it. He's leaving me. And it wasn't at all. It was just I am really over this yelling and fighting, and I just want to get out of the house. So we lived at the time right near a lake called Jordan Lake, and there are a lot of public parking areas, and you could just park and just walk down to the lake. So I would just go. Well, I guess that's actually more Midnight Moon, which we might play next. But Wisteria, which we played at the top, was kind of capturing some of those fights. And I think that I'm just going to read a little bit of it here and unpack my beautiful imagery.
Oh, right? Your imagery is amazing.
So by now, well, we're kind of jumping around in time a little bit. When I wrote this song, it was 2005. And in the South, in April is when the wisteria blooms. And wisteria is gorgeous. It is a beautiful. Total non-native vine, kind of like kudzu. It's related to kudzu. Yep.
Same flower. Just different directions.
So, but it's a vine, so it's parasitic. It climbs up trees, and it'll just cover the tree until the tree dies. So the opening line is, "Spring is here again, wisteria's choking the trees. I swear that gorgeous bloom is you, and them old trees is me." So pretty intense imagery. That's there.
Super fun. It's a mixed bag. It's like it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, but it's suffocating me to death. I'm sitting here alone, all dressed up in my disguise, trying hard to believe I pretend my own lies. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm not going to explain everything, but out here the water's deep. Nice way to spend an afternoon. So this was, it kind of became a pattern for me when it was just too much to get in the car and drive to Jordan Lake and sit. And like the water was calming. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful.
So beautiful.
It was a place where I could just go. Like I said earlier, I didn't have friends in North Carolina. All of my friends lived elsewhere pretty much. I started to make some friends, but you're back home and you're in pain, setting fire to my old flames. In fear that they might rise again, you're saving tears and praying rains on every one of our parades. Our ghosts and ghastly pageantry. Some of them are ripping out at you, some are digging into me. But that old bloom don't last long. A blaze of glory and it fades, leaving a mess of vines behind every time it goes away. So like, Eileen sort of latched onto the songs and Sarah and other things to kind of like locate the fear in like, I think you love other women more than you love me.
Yeah.
Really, I think that was a smokescreen. I really think she was dealing with like.
But I just needed you to love me more. Plus, you just should. I mean, if you're married to someone,
absolutely,
you should love them more than any other woman.
So that's marry them. What that's about. Like, you know, you're back home and you're in pain, setting fire to my old flames.
And that I think is us. Like that was the argument of like you wanted to play your songs. And I didn't want to hear them.
Right. So burning my old repertoire.
And yeah, I remember the night you left, and you were like, "Well, just burn them all." And then you like left, and drove off, and I'm there, and you know, like
so insecure.
I wasn't gonna burn all your records, obviously, all your CDs, but there was something to that. Like the truth of that was that I was terrified.
Yeah.
Of you loving someone else more.
Yeah. Well, and you felt like you had evidence. You felt like in Sarah.
I felt like I had a lot of evidence.
Rock solid evidence that I did love other people more.
Yeah.
And.
Well, you told me that your mom was more beautiful than me. Yeah.
Well, that took a while, but that like we got into really there was some.
And just way better in every way.
Definitely the like. Well, let me just finish this thought. So like, my perspective was that, like, you were, every one of our parades, our ghosts and ghastly pageantry, some of them are ripping out at you, some are digging into me. So you had a past too. And in my anger of you attacking me about other women, I started asking you about your past, which was really immature and stupid to do. Because, like, I wasn't insecure in her leaving me for somebody else. I wasn't feeling that way. But I was feeling tired of being attacked. And so I was like, you're no angel. Like, let's
pointing out, like...
I was pointing out that you had things that I could be insecure about. And, like, that's just a shitty way to handle that. But
honestly, you did it. I didn't have things that you could be insecure because you weren't insecure about my
stuff. I
wasn't
wasn't insecure about that.
It was just another way that you could make me feel horrible.
It was just another way for me to make you feel horrible. The song ends, hopefully, we must find a bridge to cross to get us to that sweet refrain. This endless verse to endless verse is just pain to endless pain. And now the cold is setting in and the dark is rolling down. And like the fool I am, I won't ask which way to town. But there's a light up on a pole glowing strong and true, and it's your love singing out to me, and it'll guide me back to you. But, like, again, that's where songwriters get fictitious. I was thinking about, like, this dude, and I was definitely writing about me, but I was thinking about this dude, like, going to a lake and not knowing how to get back and not asking for directions. But then as the sun goes down at Jordan Lake, of course, the parking lots have, like, like light poles and stuff, so the lights come on. And I felt like that was a metaphor. But I believed so strongly in our love and our relationship that, like, I did have that to cling on to. But this song, Wisteria, is like a cry, is me crying out and just being like, this is torture. Like,
well, and neither of us had a way to get to where we needed to go.
Yeah.
We had no idea how to get there. There was no roadmap. And not for lack of trying, because we went to many counselors.
We went...
That really pretty much just made everything far worse.
Yeah. Well, we went to 2 different pastors. We went to 2 different public, like, clinical psychologists.
And just like a couple.
And finally to just another older married couple.
Which was the best.
And they're...
By far.
Pretty much the extent of their advice was, you guys just need to grow up. And I don't think they knew about the self-loathing that Eileen was dealing with. But the correct advice was, you guys just have to grow up and give it time and put each other ahead of your own needs. Like, we kept, like, I think they quickly saw that we were both trying to get the other person to serve us and do what we needed, but they were like, it doesn't work that way. You can't extract love. You can only give love and, like, let that love cycle back.
But you know what I think? Like, thinking about this now, like, I haven't thought about it in a long time. I really think that the best thing they did for us, because we spent time at their house, we ate with them, we spent the night with them one time. Like, I think that one of the best things that they did for us was just to be an example of loving each other well. And that was huge. And they believed in us and were like, of course you can do this. Mm-hmm. Like,
so Keith and Lonnie, thank you if you ever see this. We literally don't think of you often, but whenever I do, I think of you so fondly.
I used to think of them a lot early on.
Yeah.
Because it was so important and helpful, and like the most helpful thing we received in that first year, for sure.
Yeah. Obviously by the spring, Aubin was on the way. Aubin was conceived in November and was born in August.
Yeah. I think maybe we'll do one with that whole, like, unpack the whole, like, getting pregnant and how that sort of
exacerbated everything.
Also,
well, because hormones are a real thing in pregnancy, and you had no idea you were pregnant,
and dramatic ones.
I was just like, what the actual hell is happening? Like, I was like, I've married a crazy person, and I was like, okay, if that's what's in front of me, okay, like, how are we gonna get through this?
How am I gonna get through this?
I have legit married a crazy person, so here we are. Like, let's go. And it was intense. So should we end with Midnight Moon? I feel like they're kind of a package deal. So okay. Midnight Moon is about the same time period.
I think Midnight Moon's my favorite.
It's also when I was escaping to go to Jordan Lake. And I say this like I did it all the time. I think I only did this like maybe a half dozen times, but like it was, it was what I did to
Survive.
find peace and unwind. So I'll just read a few of the lyrics and then we'll play it, and maybe that'll just end this episode. We got more to get into, but
yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that I want people to get from this episode, though, is just that in order to love someone else, you have to learn how to love yourself. And if someone else doesn't love you, it's probably not your fault. Like, it's not you. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with you, like, it's not who you are. It's just that you do not have those tools and you don't know how to do it. And I mean, you did love yourself, but you still found it really hard to love me. I think maybe because I didn't love myself and I was so foreign to you. And just because you were young and immature. You know, and you like really, like, there's just a level of growing up that happens, and then you're better, and, you know, like, life experience and learning to care for people. Like, that's also just, like, that's a skill that you can learn how to do. And so I think if you have a mindset, like, I really love the mindset book, found that much later, of this is just how it is. This is just who you are. That's really destructive and not helpful. But if you have a paradigm of, oh, you're on a journey. I'm on a journey. We're going to figure some stuff out. You can figure things out. Like, it is there and it's available to you. So you don't have to be hopeless. I mean, it took us
a long time.
What, like 2017 is when I started figuring out how to love myself.
So 13 years.
A really long time. And I was trying, you know, like this was huge.
And you understood that God loved you.
And I understood that God loved me.
At least in the abstract.
Like, it was so, don't be discouraged.
Yeah, don't be discouraged.
Like, it will be okay. And it can be okay. Like, it won't be okay if you don't, like, accept it and embrace it. But, like, there's hope and there's a way for it to happen. But, you know, there's some really hard times in there too. But Midnight Moon's beautiful. I would love to end on that song. It's such a beautiful song, and it's sad, but, you know, it doesn't have to be a place where you have to stay.
Yeah. So this album starts out high. I love you. I never knew. Then very second song, Wisteria. Third song, Midnight Moon, is this song, and then it gets even darker. So the next episode is we're gonna get into it. But so the midnight moon made milk of the old lake late last night. I swore I'd never make the same mistake. I made it twice. Clouds are rolling in, park ghost and paper thin. I meant to let you win. I swear I did. I don't know what happened. A hound dog's howl softens my scowl. It's such a sad, sad sound. I look for my dignity and I see that it cannot be found. I broke it for a laugh, swept up what was left and sold it to some crowd who was standing there screaming loud. So that little bit is about the proposal, as I guess I started to at least understand what I did to Eileen, whereas I took this moment that should have been really beautiful and personal for us getting engaged, and I turned it into entertainment for other people. And that was hard for me to realize that, like, I had done this thing at her expense for my career, quote, air quotes. That was really tough for me to kind of, and it took me a while to Oh yeah, Midnight Moon was after you had left one time. You had gone to your parents. So you left a note in the house so cold and said you went back home. And me so young but feeling so old and so all alone. Please leave me as I am. Don't let the screen door slam. It's all been said before. This story I know is such a bore. Young boy meets young girl. Young love shakes all the world. And you cannot begin to stop what has begun to unfurl. When two are two no more, you see begins a war. It's no fairy tale, it's real as hell, and that's for damn sure. The midnight moon made milk of the old lake late tonight. I thought you'd be in our bed by now, holding your pillow tight. But I've been wrong before, and I'll be there again, shipwrecked on that shore. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened. I think that's just, like, summarizes so much. especially of the early days, like, I just don't even know.
Yeah, it got crazy really fast. Like, we'll get into it next episode, but Eileen was so mad at times, and she wanted to just sock me in the face, but instead she would hit herself. Because she didn't want to hit me, but she was so mad. And so she would hit herself, mostly in her legs, and it just threw me for a loop. Like, I just literally didn't know what to do. I was like, she's hurting herself. Like, what is happening here? I was so confused. And I felt so helpless. I did not know what to do. And all I felt was that I was making it worse. I felt like I was making the situation worse. Everything I'm doing, everything I'm saying is making it worse. So in my shoes, I am exacerbating a situation that is causing my wife to self-harm. And I was just like, this is way more than I can handle. I don't know how to handle this. And anyway, it was really intense. So we're gonna leave it on a somber note, but we'll make it even worse next episode.
See you then.
Stay tuned. And I want to thank Daniel Hart. If you ever watch this, Daniel arranged all the strings on this album, and I think he did a phenomenal job. So thanks for hanging out with us and listening.
The midnight moon made milk of the old lake late last night. I swore I'd never make the same mistake. Made it twice. Clouds rolling in, part ghost and paper thin. I meant to let you in, I swear I did. I don't know what happened. Hound dog's howl softens my scowl. It's such a sad, sad sound. I look for my dignity and I see that it cannot be found. I broke it for a laugh and swept up what was left and sold it to some crowd. Standing there screaming loud. You left a note in the house so cold. It said you went back home. Me so young, but feeling so old and so all alone. Please leave me as I am. Don't let the screen door slam. It's all been said before. This story I know is such a bore. Young boy meets young girl. Young love shakes all the world. You cannot begin to stop what has begun to unfurl. When two are two no more, you see begins a war. It's no fairy tale, it's real as hell, and that's for damn sure. Oh. Thought she'd be in a bed by now, holding you close. And I